So, Kate, I wanted to respond to back and forth on our emails, and I know they become quite contentious. And first of all, thank you for even emailing me. And you're not obliged, quite frankly, even as with me as a constituent. And if you watch this entire video, I'll be very surprised, and I'll feel very privileged that you did. Thank you for sending me the Maricopa ordinance on the mask wearing, because quite frankly, I have been citing you every time I've been accosted by store people, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Costco's, the latest one at Sprouts, where in fact I was actually assaulted. And the document was impossible to find, and I really appreciate you doing that. You're not obliged. But I wanted to do this video instead of the back and forth, because I want you to completely understand where I am. And I was going to ask you whether you ever reached out to Nicole Garcia, who's running GOP candidate for D3 before you endorsed Debra Stark, Democrat. And no, that's not supposed to be a partisan position. And Nicole Garcia happened to come around yesterday, very kindly brought me a Trump yard sign. So I asked her, no, you never did. So I'm just completely nonplussed to understand where you are. How are you endorsing Debra Stark? This is a candidate who is lockstep behind Kate Garcia, mayor of Phoenix, who's endorsing Black Lives Matter.
But what does the Black Lives Matter organization actually stand for? To find out, look no further than their leaders, Alicia Garza, Opal Tometi, and Patrisse Cullors. Here's Cullors in a revealing 2015 interview.
We actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists.
This is a Marxist organization, and that's not rhetoric. You can go online and you can see the videos of these women, trained Marxists. They are infatuated with Marxism. Just as a reminder, as you know, I am a legal immigrant. I swore an oath of allegiance to this country, a capitalist country, not to a Marxist state, not to bring down this country. And you can also go online and you can see videos of them. And these founders of burn, loot, murder are involved with the occult.
They become very intimate with the spirits that we call on regularly, right? Like each of them seems to have a different presence and personality. I laugh a lot with Waukesha, and I didn't meet her in her body, right? I met her through this work.
It's a very important practice. Hashtags for us are way more than a hashtag. It is literally almost resurrecting a spirit so they can work through us to get the work that we need to get done. I started to feel personally connected and responsible and accountable to that.
We say her name, say their names. We do that all the time, that you kind of invoke that spirit, and then those spirits actually become present with you.
They have this ridiculous fantasy about Africa and about the occults. Yeah, this is, I'll mention barking dogs with Debra Stark later. This is what I have to deal with. And, as you know, I grew up in Africa, and I had to do my military service at 18. This is what life in Phoenix is like. And, it was compulsory 1 year, and I did it with the British South Africa Police Force, and that was the old colonial name. It was the Rhodesian Police Force, and I served in a troubled trust land and as a policeman. And the things that I had to deal with as an 18-year-old were sudden death dockets, okay? So one of them was, an African toddler who was on a donkey cart, and the wheel went over a bump and he fell off and he went under the tires. And because my job was to determine whether there was foul play or it was natural death, a well digger who fell down the well. And one of them, most horrifying, was an African woman who fought with her one side of her family, and Africans will walk miles and miles and miles in the bush with poisonous snakes and wild animals. She disappeared. 3 months later, goat herd boys found her floating in a lake. That's what I had to deal with. The point of me telling you this, the one thing that policemen, whether you were military service police or regular police, you were not allowed to handle anything to do with witchcraft. And the reason was they were impossible to prosecute, they were impossible to understand. So I'll give you an example of witchcraft. And this is not reading it in a book or watching a video, this was my life experience. African tribesperson wanted to put a spell on someone. So you'd go to the witch doctor, and part of his remedy and his potions was he wanted, for instance, an example, and this is a real life example, he wanted the male genitals of a newborn African baby. So this person would go along and he would find someone's baby and murder it, cut off its genitals. That's witchcraft, okay? These Black Lives Matter Marxist founders are fascinated by the occult. Why on earth would you want to be involved? And, and Debra Stark, I went down to support the police when they were voting on or doing hearings on whether they were going to bring in this police review board. And I understood that the public, the citizenry of Phoenix were going to be allowed to speak. Oh no, it was all the usual suspects, all the race baiters, NAACP, all the rest of them. And Debra Stark sat there and said nothing. So, and my history with Debra, I am a red pill liberal, so I have a long history with the Democratic Party. I was an obvious to help her when she had to run for the first time after inheriting that position. And I told her about the problem with the wrong way drivers here and driving across private property to make an illegal turn. And she said to me, it needs a creative solution. Never heard from Debra. 6 months later of me reporting, taking videos, underground, secret camera, night camera, motion activated camera, nothing. And then found out that she had not even told Rose Ferguson, her calendar person, that they wouldn't even met. She didn't even put it on. So as a block watch captain, I dutifully will work with whoever is elected. I am not partisan. And all this time later, with Debra, once again, we've got barking dog issues. And it was supposed to be the School of Law or something that was handling it, and I've had many issues, and it just goes into a black hole. And then I finally got a little handwritten note from someone, the School of Law doesn't handle it, tough turkey, what have you. And I reached out to Debra, and not privately, publicly, so that she would respond. And of course it's an election year, and she called me up, or her assistants called me up, arranged a meeting. Alan and I met there. Heather unfortunately forgot the appointment because she would have been a very good testimony for the problems that we have. And Debra sat there, and she brought someone from the law office, nodding along, listening, looking at the watch, just before COVID. What's been done? Nothing. Another 6 months, nothing. And and to be honest with you, when she ran and won, and I did support her the last time, when I found out talking to liberal lefty neighbors, they didn't support her. That wasn't their candidate of choice. So to me, Debra is that a piece of heirloom furniture that someone in your family had handed down to you, and you have it, and you've never liked it, and you don't quite know why you kept it, but it's there. And during the public testimony on the police review board, she was there with your furniture sitting there. I mean, she's a completely decent person. She is just not someone we want in office. And with all the nonsense that we've seen in 4 years, why would you even support any Democrat? And in your email you cited, well, do you want the Soros back this, and do you want the Soros? No, Kate, I don't. But I don't want a person that's lockstep with Black Lives Matter and Antifa and Kate Gallego. No, we want them out. So we have whatever you feel about Nicole Garcia, and it turns out you don't seem to have any opinion because you didn't even meet her. And so, you're going to vote for Debra Stark. Why on earth would I vote for you? And, when I look at the numbers in that last press article, you won by 267 votes. You don't have my vote. I don't think you have Nicole Garcia's vote. I don't think you have the single vote of anyone who's supporting Daniel McCarthy or the people against the mask mandate. So who are you going to be there? And yet, do I want Christine Marchant? No, I don't. I think she is, involved with the union mafia. I don't think they give a damn about the students except to indoctrinate them. I think she'll be a disaster. But it's an opportunity to put someone in the GOP who really is a GOP person and not someone who, seems to be involved in some sort of backroom GOP politics. And I had a Facebook Messenger interaction with Nathan Brown, your ex-campaign manager, and it was about real estate, nothing to do with politics, but, mentioned this campaign, and immediately he started to, communicate me from, up here. Always, if you're involved with politics, you know something, you're in the know, and us little peons, the voting citizens, don't know. Okay, I will tell you something. I get up at 5:30. I have about a 2.5-hour breakfast. I read everything. I read, digital, Flipboard, all the lefty, all the right. I go on Twitter. I go on Gab. I go on Facebook. I'm probably the most informed person around, and certainly the person that I know. European news, seeing what's happening in the UK, seeing what's happening in this country. I've watched it for 4 years, and as you know, my progress was from a liberal to a red pill liberal, now a Republican Party member, in voting. And this COVID, you having a disagreement on COVID. Okay, let me tell you something. As real estate, I've had my best year because I didn't succumb to COVID, because I didn't succumb to this fear. I kept working. I've had absolutely the best year in real estate because all the other agents, seasoned agents, gave up. COVID is bullshit. And I will tell you, yes, I believe it was a virus created in a lab in Wuhan. And yes, I think it was involved with the Obama administration, who I voted for twice, regretfully. I don't think it is as pervasive as you wanted to believe. And, this ridiculous mask, wear that little piece of cloth and go and sheetrock, sand some sheetrock, rub down some sheetrock just for a few minutes. Take the mask off and look at your face covered in white plaster dust, large particulate, and then tell me the little microscopic virus is going to be prevented. It's ridiculous. And if you believe that wearing a mask protects you, why are you concerned about other people? But what Doug Ducey has done, the governor has done, with your support, to me is unconstitutional. It is un-American. And what you've done is you've played in to the lefty fears, and you've created this toxic environment. Let me tell you something, Kate, about being a gay man growing up in London. The one thing that I always hated about the Brits, my heritage, my genetic pool, in comparison with Americans, the Brits are really cheeky. You could go up the street and they will comment, they will say something to you. Americans never do that. And that was one of the really contrasting things that I realized when I first came to America. So for instance, as a gay man, every single day that I was a student, every single day that I walked out of my home with my bicycle, I would be verbally attacked about being gay, about being about being queer. That was the harassment that I had to deal with. And I'm reliving this now in Arizona. What happened to my wonderful, friendly, open, polite Americans? They've gone. They've replaced with these mass Marxists, these new Nazis, these people who have been lied to about this COVID and the protection of these stupid masks. You had no right to do this, nor did the governor. And, one of the experiences that my personal experiences about COVID, one, I know no one who seriously, genuinely had COVID-19. So I had a phone call from one of those, real estate school guys that I mentored because the real estate school is cheating on tweaking the computer exams so that they keep failing, so they take their $500 and the guys never get out. So Matt was one of those, and he calls me and he's in a really bad mood and he's angry about something, and I can't remember if it was Matt that who made the appointment for COVID-19 test or a friend, but didn't make the appointment, got a call the next day to discuss his positive results. I say that again, never took the test, had a call to discuss his positive result. Tell me that's not a con. And then my ex-student, Tiffany, both her parents tested for COVID-19 positive. Mother had pneumonia. They tested her 6 times. 6 times to finally get the result they wanted. These are two don't enjoy good health. They're in their 70s. They are vulnerable. Where are they now? They're driving around the United States in an RV on their dream vacation. They didn't die. So what was this bullshit test? So last week I went to Postino's. I had lunch with my BFS, Cindy White, and she told me about a retired couple friends of hers who decided they wanted to get the COVID test in Arizona. Went along. After 3 hours, he left. He couldn't wait any longer. She stayed another hour, then left. The next day, they got communication to discuss their positive results. It's a con. It's an absolute con. And I'm sorry, and that's not read in a book, watched it in a video. This is my personal experience. So I am sorry, Kate. You know, I did vote for DeMond Daniel in the primaries, and I watched or listened to the radio interview that he did. I am 100% in agreement with that. And I suddenly realized there's all these ton of angry Republicans who feel, you know, you guys have lost the plot. And they not so much want a new party, they want a new slate of candidates. And I will tell you, Kate, you know, there are so many people, particularly on the left, who think the GOP is the party of Jesse Helms and Robin Byrd. It's not. It's the party of Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens. It's different. This isn't the party of the 90s evangelicals who wanted to bring back the death penalty for homosexuals. This is not that party. And here is I'm listening to Mon Daniel, and he's going on about, you know, this is about conservative and patriotism and all the rest of it. And he thinks this is the conservative issue. It's not. I'm a red-pilled liberal, and I am 100% in agreement because it's about patriotism. It's about our, you know, saving our country from these Marxists. No, Kate, you do not vote or support or endorse any Democrat. They are lunatics. They are complete lunatics, and I'm one. And, you know, the thing that disturbs me is, you know, I canvassed for Howard Dean. I liked Howard Dean. I was a Green Party person before that. Part of what I liked about Howard Dean, he was really conservative. And I drove up to New Hampshire. I took a whole bunch of people. We canvassed. We were 90% on the ground to 10% Carrie Edwards. You couldn't see Carrie Edwards. Then I flew to Iowa. We were 90% on the ground. The Deanies, the little orange fluorescent hats, we were everywhere. You could hardly see Carrie Edwards. The campaign headquarters was full. You know, Martin Sheen's there. You know, what was his name? Russ, I can't think of the name of the journalist. I saw him in a coffee shop, you know, weeks before he died of a heart attack. We were mobbed. We were it. We were the Bernies before Bernie Sanders. And then I went into the caucuses, the first time I've been in the caucuses, and I watched the DNC with the collusion of the unions handed to Carrie Edwards. And I realized it was in the bag. All the effort we made, all the, you know, the grassroots, we didn't have a chance. The same thing with the Bernie people. We didn't have a chance. And then we have our lovely Kathy Petzes wanting to convince me to, you know, go along to, you know, with whatever it is the GOP, the old guard GOP wants. Why would I do that? I've witnessed it. And it feels like it's the boys in the back room nonsense all over again. And I'm not supporting it. This is a make or break time for this country, Kate, and I cannot support you. I will not vote for you. I think I will remain believing you are one of the most decent human beings around. I respect you. I don't regret supporting you. I think, honestly, Kate, you're out of date. I think it's time to move on. Whatever happens, good luck to you. Quite frankly, I hope you lose. Love you to death, but that's it. And if you watch this, I really respect you for watching it. Meant with respect. Good luck.